Hey everyone, looks like we are live. It's so great to see you. I hope everyone is having a great week. Thank you so much for hanging out on this Wednesday. Hey, Mr. Mike Russian, thanks so much for the wonderful super chat, sir. I appreciate that so very much. Thank you. Thank you for your support and just loving the work that you're doing. The portraits are just getting better and better. So thanks for inspiring me, your support and your friendship, Mr. Mike. Thank you so much. And Mike from Decatur, Georgia, I got you. I know where you're from now. It's locked in my brain. Dan, how you doing all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. How are you, sir? Great to see you. We have Patty C all the way from Illinois. Great to see you. And we have Astral. Astral, always wonderful to see you from the UK. How's your son doing out there in Japan? So I like to hear how he's doing. Dave the Bug Gregory, how you doing, sir? All the way from uh, Oklahoma, but soon to be from Texas. Did you make the move yet, sir? Great to see you. And we'll be back after a short break for our sponsors. So great to see you. And so, Mike, thanks again for that. That is just super incredible and just very, very inspiring. So, thank you for that, sir. And still in Oklahoma, move on Saturday. That is so soon. I know it's going to go as smooth as silk because I'm praying for that to happen. So, and I hope you have many, many happy, wonderful, fun days in your new place, new beginning. Oh, Astral says his son is renovating his house. A busy man, yes. So that's really cool. So great to hear that. Hey Dillard, how you doing? Great to see you, Maston. I believe, right? So how's it going? So glad you're here. Maston, where are you from again? I'm sorry. Sometimes it takes a couple of times. Let me get this lifesaver out of my mouth. Sometimes, Maston, it takes a couple of times. But let me know where you're from. I always love to hear. New York, okay. Are you from the city or upstate, Maston? I'm just outside of New York City, in New Jersey. Literally like 4 miles, 5 miles from New Jersey. So very cool. Uh, so I just want to say, thanks for stopping by. It's always a pleasure to see you, Maston, and please, you have a lot of experience, so always looking forward to any comments you might have. Dave says it has been referred to as the year of Dave. I think it will be 2 years. Well, I hope it is going to be like an incredible year of Dave because you deserve it. Oh, Albany. Okay, cool. Yeah, I do know my New York State capital. It's nice up there, I hear. So you're maybe about like 4 hours from New York City, more or less, 4 or 5 hours. Maybe wrong. Most likely I'm wrong. So in here, I went ahead and mixed up a color for the darks of her blouse, right? And so I went ahead and mixed that before I got here. Mr. Steve Leahy, all the way from Ohio. Great to see you. How are you, sir? So that is great. And so now let's get rid of me. No one wants to see me. There we go. Whoop, I got rid of her. No, she's the star. And let's move this out of the way. We don't need, well, I kind of need that, but I don't want to get the glare on your guy's face there. Okay, so I guess we can just lower the exposure here. There we go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on her skirt. And you see we have the wet palette all fired up, fresh wet palette, which is great. So Steve Leahy knows how nice a fresh wet palette is when you have it all set up and everything is just really really nice. So that's good. And Dave says it will be rough away from the family, but we will make it through. It has been a tough week with leaving the family looming heavy on his mind and heart, but opportunities for my soul to be full. You know what? This day and age, we have we have the internet, we have FaceTime and all that other stuff. So I don't think it's like it was in the past. So, it's still going to be hard, but maybe not as hard as it was back in the day. And oh, Dylan says when you drive the limit, 2.5 hours. Wow. Oh, that's not bad. 2.5 hours. That's really good. And so Dave says absolutely, and very, very cool. So great group already. Thank you, everybody, for hanging. And let's see. I'm going to fire up my Pure Ref. Everyone loves Pure Ref. So Pure Ref has a new version out, and you still can get it for free. You just have to say that you're downloading Zero, or you can download something. I mean, it's great what they do. So I really, really, really love Pure Ref. It's a great program if you work from your computer. Okay, so we're going to hit the dark. So as I'm coming in with the dark of the dress, so I heard there was someone was talking about pressure and how a new artist needs to not be at 25 psi. And I thought that was really fascinating, but because they said that a new airbrush artist would not be able to handle 25. And I think it has to be clarified that a new airbrush artist needs to have an airbrush with a Mac or pack valve. You need to have a micro adjustment valve here. So if you set it at 25, you can lower the air pressure, not the airflow, and you can simulate any air pressure that you need. But to say that so I feel that a new airbrush artist should not be fiddling around with the compressor. They should set it and forget it at 25 psi. And I think that's really important. It's like anything else. When you're starting something new, you want as little moving parts as possible. So I think, hanging out at the compressor and, fiddling with it, a new airbrush artist should set it at 25, forget it, use the pack valve, Mac valve, and paint all the time. Paint as much as you can. Get that experience. Know what it feels like when you are trying to get detail, know that distance is important, knowing that the airflow is important. Whether it's 25 psi or 20 should not even be in the transiums of the newbie's mind. Set it and forget it at 25. And so I just feel that a new airbrush artist should not screw with it at all. Don't screw with the air pressure. If there's a new airbrush artist out there and they have an airbrush without a Mac valve, they should just, stab themselves in the foot with the needle, because you are not going to be able to adjust. You don't have the finesse of distance, of angles, and anything else to be getting that kind of finesse. But with the Mac valve, I remember when I was just starting, it was super, super important for me to have that Mac valve. I remember the first one I had with the Mac valve was the Highline by Iwata, which was really just fantastic. Before then, I was using an airbrush without it, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me. But once I had that Mac valve, you never go back, right? Why would I use an airbrush without a Mac valve? There's no reason for it. It doesn't hurt, but it only helps. So do not worry about air pressure. Set it at 25 and forget it. You shouldn't be fooling around with your California air tools or whatever. Just go ahead and get yourself a Mac valve and paint all the time. Because experience is going to tell you what does what, right? That's the main thing. It's experience that's going to be your teacher. No one can really tell you. You have to feel it, and you can only feel it by having the time. Astral says a new airbrush artist should dive into the deep end and kick like crazy, like they did with his first Badger. Yes, but it's always good. Yeah, they should dive into it. I agree. You should, but you know, some of those things that us seasoned airbrush artists have, some of those advantages, it's not fair. And so 25, set it and forget it. That is the way to go for a new student. And I'll defend that every day of the week. I mean, with a Mac valve, and that's it. So that's my stance, and I I teach. I've been teaching airbrush for 5 years, and not missing a week. And having some great students come by, and it's just great. It's great to have them, but definitely, I'm not going to say fiddle around with that dial on your California Air Tools. No, mm-mm, no, definitely not. Uh, all's fair in love and war, like airbrushing. So it's very important to tell a student that the only way to get better is to do it, but to give them, to at least just point them in the right direction, right? And that's what I'm doing, just pointing them in the right direction. And Dillard says when he started airbrushing, he didn't have the Mac valve. He set the pressure at 15 back in the day, left it at that, was working with inks at the time, so 25 was too high. Yes, and I think that's fine, but I think if you had a Mac valve, you wouldn't even have to worry about that. Because let's say if you're going super close, Maston, right? But no, back in the day, probably didn't even have Mac valves back then, right? And so yeah, you had to. But and I appreciate that, but definitely, this day and age, if when I get a new student, if they don't have an airbrush with a Mac valve, before we even start working together, order the Mac valve at Amazon. We're not going to work until you have a Mac valve. That's how I am. We're not working until then, so that's important. And coffee is squirting out his ears. And that's very cool. Thank you so much for that, Dillard. That's a very good feedback. Dave says you might have to get that checked, Astral. Okay, so you see, I'm just starting to kind of come in with this kind of raw umber. How I got that color was with a illustration orange and some illustration white and a little bit of illustration black, and that's how I got this. And let's go ahead and just put a little bit on the sleeve there, just a little bit on the top part of her dress. There we go. And John Diekman from Wisconsin, how you been, my friend? So glad to see you. I am so glad to see you. How's everything? Are you still working very hard, John? I know you are. I know you were doing a lot of hours last time we talked. So definitely good to see you. I hope you have a summer vacation coming up. That would be just amazing. Oh, definitely retire, and then you could just, you know, do your second career, which is airbrushing, right, John? That would be amazing. Definitely. So, so yeah, I think the most important thing to getting better, no matter where you are on that road, is to try and put in as much time as possible. And if much time as possible is 15 minutes a day, then that's going to make a big difference. And think of every moment that you're painting is like money in the bank. And you can go ahead and withdraw some of that when you are 2, 3 years down the line. So I want you to feel that, it's like the most important thing you can do is put in those hours. Dylan says when he got his Turbo AB, oh wow, that's a great airbrush. I had to set it at 10 psi as the reciprocating needle moves far too fast for control. Wow, that's a wild airbrush. That is really cool. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have this kind of interesting color. Maybe I could start putting something in this background here with this color. Right here in this back window. And Dave says, Astral sounds like you know the problem. Try not laughing so hard. What did Astral say? I do have oh my goodness, a perforated eardrum. Oh my God, please take care of that, my friend. And just to show some, you know, some information in that back window. Doesn't have to be much. And we can always work on that later. Hey, Mr. Bobby, how's it going, my friend? Great to see you, sir. How are you? So glad you're here. Wow, Mr. Dave, thank you so very much for the super chat, sir. I appreciate that more than you know. Thank you. I mean, it's so amazing, with all the busyness going on, you still find time to hang out with me and us. And I just think that is so amazing. And then on top of that, your support and your friendship is just really, really appreciated. So thank you for that, sir. I'm really touched, and I'm excited about your new chapter, and it's going to be great in Dallas. So I can't wait until you tell me you are loving it like crazy. So, and once again, thank you so much for the super chat, sir. I really appreciate you. And so that is so amazing. And, I'm going to do more, but I just want to do some indication of that window. And then over here, we have this color right here. You can just kind of put that there. I mean, it's going to be, the background is going to be loose in a way, and that's okay because it's not about the background. But I'll do the best job I can, right? I'm not going to neglect it, right? So that's for sure. And let's see. And let's see. So Dave says, Tim, this is the welcome break from insanity. Thanks for sharing your talent. Oh, my pleasure. I mean, I always say it, this is the highlight of my week. It really is. I'm like, it's Wednesday, this is hanging out with my live stream friends. And it really is something that, whatever I do, I always say that, you know, that it's so important that I let people know that Wednesday is off limits. And it's always been that way. Wednesday at 9:30. And just the people I've met and some of the funny stories is just hilarious. all the paintings that we've done together is just incredible, which I'm, really happy with and everything. Uh, so that is really, thank you again, sir. And thank you again, uh, Mr. Rush. I appreciate you, Michael. Michael Rushing, thank you so much for your super chat, sir. It means the world to me. Hey, is that Gary? Gary from Hershey, PA. How's it going, sir? Great to see you. How are you? So, we got Gary in the house. That is great. Always a pleasure. And let's see. So, down here, but I'm trying to see where I have this color so I can kind of repeat it. And I'll do that here. It's fun with backgrounds because you just don't know like where it's going. And it's very interesting. It's kind of a lot of lost and found edges and you know, kind of going by the seat of my pants with backgrounds. But I'll tell you, doing a painting with backgrounds are a lot of fun. Mr. Dwayne, how's it going? San Luis de Obispo. Go Banana Slugs. Nope, go Mustangs. How are you, sir? How's everything out there? Are you still painting the motorcycles, I believe? Because I know you said the murals weren't going right now. So, how's that going? Any new mural projects since last week? And of course, everybody knows that Uh, Mr. Dwayne is, very well versed at Wicked, as well as Mr. Leahy is a Wicked. Oh man, Gary, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate that so much. It's always a pleasure to see you. I see you on Steve Leahy's live stream for years, and you're a cool guy, and I'm just so happy that you're here on my live stream. And it's great to have you, sir. And thank you 100 times for the support. I really appreciate you, sir. And you're not too far from Amish country, right? So how often are you stuck behind those buggies with the horses? So that might, I'm sure you have stories about that to tell, huh? That is so cool. Oh, cool. So Dwayne says he's good, so that's great. And so it's so cool. And so we're just going to continue kind of playing with this. Looks like a raw umber. So it's like a raw umber, but I mixed it with white, black, and orange, and I got raw umber. So raw umber is a wonderful color, but it's very mixable. Raw umber is not a pigment, so you can always mix your own raw umber. So really, there's no reason to run out and get raw umber unless you do it a lot. Like I know some of my oil painter friends use raw umber a lot when they are doing the underpainting for their oils. They'll do that very lightly with a lot of turpentine or mineral spirits, it's called today. And so that's very interesting. Dwayne says I don't foresee any murals this year, and it doesn't bother him at all because they are a pain in gluteus maximus. Yes, I'm like that with portrait commissions. Um, Portrait commissions to me are just not cost effective. I mean, I do them and I know the importance of a portrait commission. It's a family member, it's a loved one. So I ruminate over it. I agonize over the portraits, and what I do is what really gets me with portraits is that I have in back of that my mind that have to get I have to get the likeness. It's like the Little Rascals that one time where he was like, learn that poem, learn that poem. And the same thing with me when I have a portrait commission. It's like, get a likeness of Aunt Sylvia, get a likeness of Aunt Sylvia. You know what I mean? So it's, I know what you're feeling. I have that same thing with portrait commissions. Because, my whole MO is, basically don't worry about getting the likeness until the end because you can't get a likeness until the end. It's like impossible because if all the pieces aren't there, of course it's not going to look like them. So that's a very important consideration. And oh, Gary says Amish all around him, and they can be a nuisance, but he respects their way of life. Yeah, definitely. That's a cool way to look at it. Their way of life conflicts with the normal, not normal, but mainstream. I think that's a nicer way to say it. And yeah, mainstream, and we just have to tolerate their lifestyle, and they don't hurt anybody. But when I went there, I dated a girl who was from Lancaster, and I went to visit, and I was fascinated that they were walking around. I mean, riding around in horse and buggies, and you know, their lifestyle is very interesting. Their cars have 1 horsepower. What if it's an old horse? Is that like half a horsepower? That's funny. And so, yeah, great conversation tonight. Thank you guys. So pretty soon I'm going to be uh, going into the paintbrush, but I just want to start this out. And so I want to do something special for you guys tonight. And who's here is very special to me. So I am not going to do this too often. I don't give away the store, so to speak. But I am going to do something very special, and it's not about anything but just kind of giving back. You guys are going to like this. This is going to be a special treat for you guys. And I'm feeling the spirit to go ahead and do this for you. And so I am going to do something very special for you that I only do for my mentorship students in the past. And so what I want to do is I want to make a stencil, and I want to make a stencil for the windows, right, of my painting. So I want to do that, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. And I'm probably not even going to save this video. Like, this video will probably be up for tomorrow, today, tomorrow. And if someone doesn't watch it by Friday, I'm taking it down because this is a special gift. I'm not having this just sit on the internet. You know what I mean? And so let's do that. Oh, so Mr. Dillard says he ruminates on commissions to the point of, yeah, they can get that way. I've been doing commissions since I was like 15. And to this day, I haven't had an unsuccessful commission yet. But um, they are very difficult. They're not easy. Okay, so we are going to come over here, and I am going to pull this up here. Let me close this, and I'm going to open up another one. Let's see. Where is she? So I am working with this program called Krita. Have you guys worked with Krita before? It's a free program. It's easy once you learn it, and that's kind of funny, right? So is, flying a 747. It's easy once you know it, but once you know it, you can basically do anything with it. It really is that cool. So I'm going to be looking for that KRA here. So file, open, and give me a moment here. And okay. All right, so here we go. This is going to be, all right, so let me go to my line drawing here. All right, so now I'm going to switch what I am presenting. That's just going to be a moment. We'll move this here and come over here. Okay, let's see. And it'll just be a moment, guys. I'm going to share window. There we go. Okay, so do we see that? Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can still hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you all can hear me. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how from my original line drawing I'm going to make some stencils for my window, for the window here. So that's going to be pretty cool. So make sure I'm in the right layer, unlock it. If you do take my mentorship course, you will learn Krita like really well and really fast. So that's something, if you're thinking of doing that, I think that would be a great idea. Um, because you don't want to be throwing darts at the wall, right? This is really going to help you basically work out a lot of kinks in your artwork. So that's going to be fantastic. So the main thing I want to do is I want to make a stencil just for this window. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and hit my eraser, and I'm going to erase everything that I don't want, right? And then from here we are going to use the silhouette program, and that is with the Cameo 4. So right now you see I'm going to start erasing what's around this window here. And this is just a for instance, I mean, I could do this for anything, but this is just to show you my working method, and I think you'll enjoy it. The great thing with this program, and you need a digitizing tablet, like this one is that I have is the Huion. Huion's a great product because they're less pricey than the Wacom, and they work really well, and they're even better than the other ones. So I think it's right under Wacom, and they're really good in price. So as you can see, I'm erasing my line drawing, right? What I don't need, and keeping what I need. And then I'm going to show you how I do my cut lines, right? Which are very important. So there's such thing as cut lines. And that's when you go into the silhouette program, right? So I'm going to get rid of everything that I don't need right here, and we'll just erase this. So I'm just going to do the windows and maybe some other squares here just to just give you an idea. I would never do this on the live stream, but this is just a treat that you're not going to get anywhere else. So that's really cool. And let's see. Forgot to press return. Oh, and Brad uses the iPad and links it to the desktop, which is very helpful, that's for sure. Very, very helpful. And we're just going to get rid of this. And let me see my painting. Where did she go? Okay, here she is. Okay. And we'll just erase this here. And also we want to make sure that, when we do have a square, that we do make sure that it is a closed object. And I'll go over, why the object needs to be closed to begin with. Great thing about digital art is that you have Control Z and that's like the undo button. And I wish life had an undo button, but it doesn't. Not yet. But when I become king of the world, I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to create something like that. Gary, have a great night, my friend. Always a pleasure. And I hope to see you over there on Steve Leahy's live stream tomorrow at 1 p.m. on YouTube. So thanks again for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate you. We'll just get rid of this one here. And let's see. We'll keep this here. And the great thing is that you can zoom in and you could make sure you erase it. And let me see, I'm going to get my pure ref and look at that. And I'm just going to worry about this square, that window. Erase this. And what else? Now I notice a nice square behind her, and I already put that in, so I'll just leave it on these three squares right here. This one here. And we'll make a cutout for that. We'll make some acetate stencils, which is really great. You know, maybe I'll make a stencil for this pole here. And for these poles, I'll make a stencil. And we'll zoom in real tight. Any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask. Are you guys okay with this? I mean, is this something that you find helpful? And what I can do, since this one right here, I'll kind of connect this to this here. And so now we're just switched to my brush tool. And you want to make sure that you are all the way on black. And you'll have a specific size and brush that you use. And that really helps. So you have to make these closed shapes, right? It's very important to make a closed shape. If it's not a closed shape, then it's just not going to be a stencil, it's just going to be a mess. So you want to make sure that these shapes are closed. And then over here, we're going to go back to our eraser. And you could change the size of your eraser, as you can see. And you want to keep it clean because that's going to keep a clean cut. And a clean cut's in person. Astral, how's it going? Great to see you. What's new? No, not Astral. I'm sorry, Air Todd. How you doing from San Diego? I already spoken to Mr. Astral already, and I know he's doing well, thank goodness. So how's life there, Mr. Air Todd? Always a pleasure to see you. So now my job is to make these lines closed. So with the way I work, I can basically do a stencil on the fly if I needed it. So let's say I'm in the middle of the painting and I see a shape I need, I can go ahead and incorporate a stencil, just as I'm doing now, from my original line drawing. Okay, do I need this one here? No, I'm going to get rid of that. I can always come back later and, make a stencil whenever I feel like it, which is cool. So it's not like, a projection. Your projection, you get it because you don't have any time after that. If you don't get the projection right when you get it, it's over. That's all she wrote. So, and, I make some pretty intricate freehand stencils, and that is something that I enjoy doing. And it really gives me and my students an edge with this. I mean, it really is great. So you see, I am actually uh, erasing everything that I don't need. Well, I can always hit undo and bring it back, right, of what I need. But with Krita, I think you have around 6 undos. So you don't want to. If you have second thoughts, then definitely undo it when you feel it. Don't think about it and come back. So like right here, I want to keep these over here, and we'll get rid of this here. And the great thing is you can always blow it up, and get more detailed, which is great. And oh, so Astral says he was chatting with his son, and you shouted out. I jumped out of my skin. Sorry about that, my friend. Let's see if I got rid of something I needed here. So how many out there have used Krita? Oh, Mr. Brad says, and since we're making them out of Mylar, you can use them over and over again. Yes, they wash right off, with a rag and water. They wash right off. So you can use them again, or you can just print it out again because you'll have a file, which is super cool. Okay, so one of the things you have to know about this is that if you, well, I'm going to get rid of this here because I don't think we need it, at least not for this demo. You want to make sure that your shapes are closed. If they're not closed, it's not going to cut out, and that's not good. So those are things to consider. But if you take my mentorship course, I mean, I really go into this, and it's really great. I love to see my students, you know, going for their own painting and making stencils. You can also, use this for sublimation. You can use this for so many different things. Now you can change to this brush tool here, but you want to change your brush size 2.78. So you can change to this one, which is a line tool, and you can create a nice line. See that? But we have the eraser. We have to make sure we have the right brush. So 2.78. That's 2 point. There we go. So now I can go ahead, and if I need a straight line, I'm not going to be able to do it just freehand. I'll just get a straight line using this tool. Okay, so you see how that we have a nice closed shape. Here we don't have a closed shape, so we'll just bring this over, connect that, and now we'll just go ahead and go to our eraser and clean this up. But you got to change your brush. So it's not complicated, but it takes some getting used to be able to navigate this program. Digital art is a lot of fun, but it is not easy. It is very difficult. And something short, I can just connect it like that. So just to recap, I'm making stencils for a couple of windows so I can spray through it and get that hard edge. So this window and these straps here, or strap hanging poles that are on the, and so now what I have to do is I have to go back to my eraser and we have to clean this up. So you see we can have this because it's going to mess with our stencil. See how I clean that up? And we're going to look for any, really harsh things that we have to clean up. So here I can go back to my brush tool 2.79, come over here, bring this down. There we go. Nice closed shape, right? Come up here. Let's fix this. So I'm going to go ahead and use my line tool. So technology is scary, right? And John Diekman, have a great night. Don't work too hard. And one day you'll tell me when you're retired, and then all the great paintings you're going to be doing. So looking forward to that. But make sure you don't work too hard, my friend. I know that's easier said than done. So right here it's kind of funky, so I'm going to go to my eraser. I'm going to erase. Oh, you see, that's funny because I'm still in the line tool, right? So erase the funk and go back to my line tool. Go back to my brush. So digital art is funny. It's a lot of procedure, getting the procedure correct. And you see where it overlaps there? That you have to fix. You have to fix where it overlaps. So you have tools, you have brushes, and you have the eraser and a lot of things that you have to memorize, but once you do, it becomes easy. Okay, so we'll come up here and we have the eraser on. So I'm almost done with this part, but now you have to clean it up. If you don't clean it up, your program, your vinyl cutting program is going to freak out because it likes simple. So even if it's the lightest line, when we go to cut it, it's going to say, oh, you want to cut there? And we're like, no, we don't want to cut there. So you see where it's really small, you just have the ability to zoom right in. Look how far I can zoom in, which is really great. I can make my brush smaller, bigger. Yeah, so in my mentorship program, I teach all of this, and it's really crucial to get your thoughts and the images that are in your head to go ahead and create paintings. And one thing I do with the mentorship program is that I let the student pick the images after the first couple of lessons. They can pick their own images, which is great because it's only so many times you can paint the Joker or whatever. So this way, we could paint a family member or an image that you've seen or something from the internet or something we can pick. So that's cool. So just some things that I like to do. So you see now it looks really clean, right? And I'm just going to take my eraser, make it really big, and I'm just going to move. Maybe I missed something over here. Okay, so now we're ready for the next step, right? So this is cool. Won't it cut the choppy lines? That's a good question. It will actually, you'll see it actually will work even if they are kind of choppy like that. But you'll see because the way the cutter is, it's not going to get that specific. But you never know. Let's see. All right, so now that we have this, we're going to create a file, right? We have to create a file to send to Silhouette. And remember, Silhouettes only recognize, raster files like a JPEG or something like that. So Let's come over here. This is what we are going to save. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to call this Windows, and we're going to make it a JPEG. So it has to be a JPEG. It could be a GIF, it could be a AVIF, I think it could be a bitmap. Okay, so there we are. Alright, so now we have this and we save it at 100%. Okay, we're going to close this out and I'm not going to save it because I already have it saved elsewhere. So I'll close that out and okay, so now what we have to do is we have to, where are we? Where is that program? Let's see. Okay, bear with me guys. I'm having trouble locating the software here. Where'd it go? Okay. Okay. Okay, bear with me guys. I'm just going to minimize. Maybe it's really weird, you know, but I can't find, oh, let's see. And it looks like we are frozen. Let's see. No, we're not frozen. Oh, man. Bear with me, guys. There it is. Is this it? No. Okay, we'll leave this up. Cancel. Okay, this is weird. I mean, this is like, for some reason, the split cam is not wanting to show itself. Like, I can't adjust it. And right now, all you see is this screen, so I don't even think I can adjust this. That's the great thing about live streams, is just you never know what you're going to get, right? You just never know. Maybe it's down here. So as far as the desktop, it's just not showing up. And so we do, it's just I have to access the program so I can go ahead and change the screen. But the program is there, but it's not showing for some very strange reason. And let's see. We'll put it here. So, okay. Uh, hmm. So I'm going to hit Control Alt Delete and see with Task Manager. Okay, so it is showing webcam, split cam. If I close the program, then I close the stream, and I don't want to do that, right? So, thank you, sir. I appreciate you there, Mr. Dave. I really appreciate that. This is just like, this is a weird one. So this is like a first as far as an issue that you just can't see. Now, it could be that it's off the screen. So let me hit tab. And because I just was looking, I know, Dave, right? And too many cameras, Bobby says. And thanks, Dylan. So happy that you were able to stop by. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but hopefully next time things will be much better. And thank you for your great comments. I really appreciate that, sir. Let's see. So I guess what I'm going to have to do is, okay, if I do leave, I am going to start a new live stream. So I'm going to see what this does, and we'll go from there. Hmm. It's still not showing it, but now it's showing me upside down. Okay, we're going to just close this out. I'm going to start a new live stream. Hopefully you guys can follow me. It's just going to be starting really soon, like once I leave out of here. Okay, Control Alt Delete is going to have to do it that way. And we're just going to end the process. Are we back, guys? I think we're back. Let me see if we did it. That would be great if it did happen. Wow, look at that. So, guys, I did something pretty cool. So, that is, I kind of broke the rules. Once you close out the program, it should end your live stream, but I got out and went back in real quick. So, one good thing happened. Okay, so I'm going to open up the other software and we're going to continue. Thank you so much for hanging with me, guys. I really appreciate yous. And so here is Silhouette Studio, and it's really great. And we're just going to open this up. And this is what you get when you purchase a Cameo 4, right? So what we want to do is we want to bring that image into our software here. And so I'm going to go to File, Open, and we're going to look for the one we called Window. Remember, Windows? And there it is. See Windows right there? And it's going to be a little bit bigger than we want it. So we want this to be 8.5 by 11. So right here on this screen you can see that, oh, okay, you guys aren't seeing it. So let me go ahead and change it in Pure Ref here. Nope, we'll close that out. Okay, so let's go ahead and share display, share screen, and we are going to go here, and let me know if you guys can see that now, where I am right now. I think so. So right now we have this. We have to make sure that the mat is the right size and shape and everything. And also, I think this is correct, right? You guys can see this? Nope. Let's see. So we'll turn the window off there. We'll turn this. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay, so now you can see the program, right? So that's good. And all right, so now we're good. So this is the silhouette program. I brought in what I worked on, which is the line drawing for just the window and these poles. So what I want to do is I want to fit that to 8.5 by 11. So I go up here, and so I'm going to change my paper size to 8.5 by 11. So my width is going to be 8.5, and my height is going to be 10.818. That's going to, so it's 8.5 by 11. Let me make sure that it is correct, and then we'll just center it. Okay, so now we're centered, right? Everything is good. Now what we want to do is we want to make cut lines, and cut lines is what's going to help the Cameo 4 to cut it, right? So I'm going to go here, and we're just going to, we don't want the whole thing. We just basically need it to cut the top, but we do want the border. Go over here. And then you have to change this threshold, just how much that silhouette is going to recognize. So right there looks good. Watch what happens when I hit trace. Then look at this mess though. It's quite a mess, but there's a way to clean this up in the program. And I'm going to do that real quick by using this eraser. And I can zoom in, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And this is super messy, but that's what happens when you're trying to do it on the fly like this. But you'll get an idea of, you know, how I make my stencils. So today was one of those what could go wrong Steve Leahy type of moments where he says it on his live stream. Is that what they say? No good deed goes unpunished, right? What I should do is probably clean this up in the other program, but I'll just do it real quick here. It should be much more smooth than this, but anyway, so this is a real screwed up one, so we're just going to leave it as this. So tonight what it is, this is how I use the program, but it's one of those days where everything went wrong. So even if I do cut it out, you can see that for some reason the cut lines are really crazy. So we're just going to cut our losses, and maybe I'll make a video of this just for my close, you know, my close group like here tonight, you know, not available for everybody. Okay, so I'm just going to close this out, and there we go. All right, so now let's go back to our camera here, our USB, and we'll close that out, close that out, close that out. Okay, so now we're back in business. Yeah, sorry about that, but it gives you an idea, uh, what the best route to go. Usually, but it was just one of those things where, Murphy's Law was in effect. But I'll go over it again in the future, so that would be cool. All right, so we're gonna do some really cool work with the wet palette, which will be fun and interesting. And we're only in the first hour, so think about that, guys. I think that's hilarious that we're in the first hour and that happened. Usually that happens in the second or third hour. One thing I can tell you is if you're like me and you're working in several mediums, you want to make sure that you are definitely keeping your oil brushes away from your water-based brushes because that will create issues that you cannot recover from. So definitely be weary of that. And so that's cool. Brad says once you start with a certain size page, you stay with that size. Sometimes, depending, with this, I actually came through a different program. I think I did the line drawing in this one originally with my Samsung tablet, but there was extenuating circumstances for that. Okay, so now we're going to work on the lighter part of her skirt over here, or her dress. So let's see if we can do that together. And I am going to pull up my Pure Ref. Okay, cool. And now we're going to decide on the color. And let's see. Okay, let's see. So we're going to be looking at the gray. So there's a gray here, but it's not just any old gray. There really is no such thing as gray. Gray is basically taking up the color of whatever's around it a lot of times. So let's see. So this gray has, some brown in it, I think. So we're going to look and see what the best mixture is for that. Okay, so it's not really a gray. There's some warmth to that. So let's make that happen. Let's see. Maybe we'll go with a value 4 in the gray. I always do the values that correlate uh, with the color wheel because otherwise, it's the Wild West. What's a value 4? What's a value 5? So you wanna have that kind of regulated on what a value is. You know what's the difference between a 4 and a 5 or a 1 and a 3. Those are very important. And there's just a little bit of brown in there, so I'm going to take just a tiny bit of the Lifeline colors because you guys know how much I love the Lifeline colors by Createx. And Createx is just like the best brand ever for airbrush paints, and I will uh, definitely say that any time in the week. I do have some detailed sepia, so maybe I'll add some wicked detailed sepia to this gray, just to give it a little bit of a warmth to it. Just a tiny bit. There we go. All right. And you want to have an ample amount of water handy. That's very important. And we're just going to put a little bit of this sepia here. I know Mr. Dwayne loves the sepia with Wicked, right? The detail. You said you use that a lot, right, sir? Uh, Let's see, come over here. And we're going to do the dry brush technique. And this might be a little bit too dark. So we may have to lighten this with maybe a little bit of a lighter gray. Maybe like a gray number 2. Yeah, I like gray number 2 with the sepia. It's kind of going to bring us to that value we're looking for. Wipe our hands. Alright, let's see what this does here. It might be too much. Okay, so we're going to make sure that when you come in with a new value, you want to make sure you pick a spot where if it's too light, it's not going to be too detrimental. So it's a little bit light, but let's go with it. Let's commit. There we go. And a lot of times when you put in a light, you're anticipating the corresponding darker value next to it. So just be mindful that you're not going to look for it to look exactly the way you envision in the beginning. It has to go through its growing pains. There we go. And we're going to make that turn round a little bit later. And so that's going to help us. So I'm really happy with, what it's doing, right? Bring this over. It's a little bit on the dark side, but we can always make it lighter. And when you work in oil paints, you would think like, oh, Tim worked in oil paints all week, he's going to be rusty. No, because you're doing the same thing. Pigment is pigment. So you're solving the same problems. It's like you're saying the same things but in a different language. And maybe I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit. That might help. Let's see. Zoom in on where I'm working. Okay, so you can see exactly where I'm working, which is cool. And let me make sure I'm focused. Okay, great. So I'm on the kind of a medium thickness here. A little bit thicker than what I would put through the airbrush. And I am using the Wicked sepia with like a gray number 3 that I mixed myself. So the whole thing with the stencils wasn't meant to be, but I tried, right? There we go. And let's work over here. We'll move up here. There we go. bring this kind of light color down. And it's okay to be a little bit rough in the beginning, because that's how you paint. You know, you're not splitting hairs in the beginning. You're not working on eyelashes. And then just follow the forms, and that will tell you where the folds are. So it's good to paint what you see, but also paint what you know. Go. And we'll zoom out. And we'll just see how that's looking. So you see how we are just kind of establishing this lighter values here. And the thing about acrylic is that it dries much darker, right? So you may have to do this several times. Okay, so now we're going to come in with something a little darker. So I'm just going to come in with a darker gray here. Let's see. What would be a nice darker gray? Maybe a value 5 once I find it. So I have 7, 8. Let's see. 6. We might go with 6, but I really have my heart set on 5. Let's see. Okay, 6 it is. And this will be some of our darker values. And maybe we'll add just a little bit of this raw umber with that. And here we can do the line where the dress and her leg meet. Okay, let's look at the whole picture here. Slightly darker right here, so we'll kind of put this darker value in kind of like a wash. We're going to keep going back and forth, so maybe we could be a little more bold and use a bigger brush here. Kind of brings me back to my watercolor days. Not at the academy, but at the High School of Art and Design. And then we're going to come back in with the lighter color. Okay, so we'll go ahead and clean our brush, go back in with this lighter gray that we had. Kind of just work it back and forth. Make sure it's a little bit of a dry brush technique. And now I'm going to come in with a nice dark, like for dark accents. So we're going to work that out right now and kind of hit some of those darks and kind of keep working that back and forth, you know, and that's what's important. Let's see. And tenacity, right? We got to have tenacity. So when things don't go right, that's when we get tough. So now I'm going to make this gray. I think it's going to be like a number 8 gray. I'm going to make sure we dry brush. Keep working back and forth. Nothing that you can do can't be fixed in any medium. Hit these dark accents right there. Couple right there. This fold. And then this comes down like that. So one of the things that you'll notice that, you know, are we the only ones left? So Brad says there are 7 people, so that's not bad. But I know, you know, when things go a little awry, we lose some people. That's all right. But I'm happy the way the skirt's coming. So again, we're going to continue going back and forth, right? So we have our lightest color, right? We have our lightest color that we're working on. We're just going to continue kind of bringing that. Oh, once a painter, always a painter, right? So if you're having trouble, you just paint it out. That's all. And then I'll come in even with a lighter highlight. And it's funny because like with acrylic, which is kind of interesting, one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of acrylic as a painting medium is that it's different when it's wet than when it's dry. And I feel oils does that, but not as much. So one of the things I'm going to do is when I continue with this technique of working with brush techniques and airbrushes. I do want to get heavy bodied acrylics. I'm not sure what brand, but you do need that thickness, that visceral thickness, which is very important, you know. Uh, oh, hey, how you doing? Avocado. Great to see you. Yes, thank you, Rafa. It is Colorline Paper by Canson, and it is the 189 pound or 300 GSM, and it really works great, you know. And I have a special thing where, you know, first I do the line drawing, then I work with the airbrush and India ink, and then I go over it with shellac, like a layer of shellac, and then I start painting with Createx over it. It really is my own kind of thing, and I'm really loving it a lot. But if you have any questions about it, you know, always feel free to ask. Avocado. Not avocado, avocado. So now I want to get lighter colors, just kind of create more atmosphere, more three-dimensionality with this skirt. So let's go ahead. You know what? I do have some white here, and I'm going to put it through the airbrush and see what it does if it makes it blue, right? It see, that's what I've been doing lately a lot, is been experimenting a lot more. So I'm just going to make sure that my airbrush is working correctly before I put it on my painting. See, this is what I was talking about. 25 psi is too much right now, so I just lower it with the pack valve. So I don't have to go and worry about what the psi is. So that's very important. Okay, so now we're going to test this out, that we don't get a blue shift or not too much. We're going to get a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be anything that's too out of the ordinary. And I'm not worried about any kind of overspray at this point, because I still got a lot of work to do on this dress, but I'm just putting in some of the folds. There we go, just soften that up a little bit. Okay, so I'm kind of liking this, and I'm just going to continue doing some of the lights in her leather jacket. And also, you want to get the lights that are in the darks, and you can do that, you know, by going over it with either a white orange mixture or seeing what you can get away with. Sometimes you can get away with just doing straight white, and, you know, not getting too much of an too much of a blue shift. Let's see. Let's take a look. Okay, so we can definitely soften this up here. It's a little hard. So we'll come back and soften those darks up. It just doesn't look right. Down here we have some of that light hitting that leather right there. And then we'll glaze over that, which would be cool. And just know you're doing several layers and you'll be glazing over this. But right now I'm just trying to get the integrity of the shapes and the feeling of the leather. And then while I'm here, let's see if I could work on the top part of her dress. Okay, so we said we were going to come back and kind of get rid of some of those like crazy darks over here. I think I went overboard. That tends to happen. Okay. Just get rid of it. If you don't like it, just get rid of it. And the second thing is that this is a little too blue, so I'm just going to come in with a bigger brush. Why work with a small brush when you're trying to get a larger area? So it matches the top part of her dress a little bit more. Like I said, you can always go back, go back and forth until you're happy with it. All right, so I'm fairly happy with that. We have a blast of light right here, so I think we could put that in there, this little beautiful blast of light right here. Right on this side of that dress. Right up here. So I'm going to add just a little bit of white to that. Put that blast of light right here. There we go. So now I have this white in my brush, so let's see where we could use this. Where can we utilize the color that we currently have? To continue getting, the leather jacket, what's the characteristics of leather? So thank you so much. When I had technical difficulties, you guys stuck with me. I appreciate yous a lot. So how many people we have watching right now? It's always quality and not quantity. And we'll zoom out here. And there we go. Let's try the different angle. And you see we're working out the dress. I don't like that angle too much. There we go. Okay, so let's see if we could work out some of the really nice shapes, large shapes of her boot here. And we're going to be bold, right? We're going to be bold. And a little bit of that white. We want a lighter gray. So it's a shame I was unable to share my technique of making custom stencils. So sorry about that, guys. Another day, perhaps. We'll go a little bit darker here, down here right now. Let's get some texture on her boots there. Change the color of her heel. Here the heel is pretty dark. So I may keep this heel here pretty dark. So we're getting some weird glare. So when that dries, you'll see exactly what I'm doing. And while I'm here, I might as well come in with the dark. Just keep moving around. That's important. And you can see how, she starts to develop her dress starts to develop. And the main thing, I think, is when you decide you want to be a painter, whether it be airbrush or oil or pastel, is to just, be tenacious and keep going, right? Don't stop. Don't stop for anything. Assess the situation, come back, but just know that it's not always going to go smooth, but that doesn't mean that you should change your game plan. That's so important not to. Astral says, watching how the experts get it wrong. Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, the painting's fine. There wasn't any issue with the painting today. It's just, the way that I crashed and burned with making the stencils, which I do like 10 times a week, Astral. It was just unbelievable. Um, us artists who do the live streams, we're kind of like the daredevils of the art world because we, we go ahead and we just leave it all out there, right? And it's so funny, it's uh, we have to be like the bravest. And there have been like some really high level artists who tried to do live streams and crashed and burned and they never did another one. But my attitude is I learn a lot more when things don't go right than when they do go. Hey, what's up, Ruth? Great to see you. How are you? Ruth, all the way from Arizona. Great to see you. So glad you're here. Ruth is a very great pastel painter, and she works in colored pencils, and she's just amazing. So it's great to see you, Ruth. So now I'm going to hit some of these darks here in the leather jacket. See how the leather jacket kind of evolves? When you kind of do it as long as I have, you can pretty much just stick with something and it will just happen. Now, for someone who, that isn't the case, then there's other things that you can do. You can, assess the situation, go back, make sure if you go too dark, just to, see where you can lighten it up if you can. Now I want to get these midtones in her sweater there, and that's going to be fun. So every day I airbrush in between airbrushing and oil painting, and they both lead into one another, right? They really do. Astral says he struggled with recording his work. Seems like a massive holdup. It is, but you just fight through it. You know what I mean? That's so important. I'm going to get some agua. Let's see. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the airbrush and I'm going to come in and get some of these soft gradations with a very dark color. And so I have white in one, and in this one I had that kind of weird gray raw umber color, so I'm going to expel this from my airbrush. There we go. So I'm not sure what happened, as far as with the, doing the line drawing. It's just, you just trying to rush it. You really should never rush anything. Okay, so now I want to come in with a nice dark color. So I do have some right in here. And this is what I'm going to do. I like this little pipette here. And I'll just water it down a little bit. And we'll mix it. And then we'll put that in our airbrush and we'll start doing some of those really nice darks. Get some nice gradations going. That would be a lot of fun. So that was a pretty dark gray I had. Let's make this happen. Astrals, so cool. Thanks, guys, for hanging out and sticking with me. I appreciate it. Yeah, wasn't that amazing? That was like a miracle where I was able to shut down my streaming program and then open it up and just restart the same live stream. That was very weird. Let's see. Okay, so now let me clean this out here. Now, what's interesting when you're working with airbrush colors, it's very thin, so you just kind of blot it up because it will just sit there forever. So you don't need it to be that wet. So you just dry that up. Kind of looks like an abstract painting right now. And let's see. So I am going to use my pipette and we're going to put that in our airbrush here. Let's see how this works. I think we have some over here. Okay. So we don't have a lot in there. So let's see what this does. So the airbrushes are working well tonight. That's a plus. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this for two reasons. I'll use it to work on this sleeve here. So let's work on her sleeve. And I don't think it's too dark. And always keep your game plan. And you can see where it's not so hard edge. So the airbrush works really well with the paintbrush because the airbrush will create these really super soft edges that will really help it and just complement the hard edges and the control you get with the paintbrush. See how I can soften this edge right there, just make it really beautiful. And same thing here. Let's get some beautiful airbrush techniques here. Oh, right. Astral said that the program was still in memory and the live stream was still going up. So it's like the best of all possibilities right there. Okay, so you see how the airbrush works really well with the paintbrush. So right now I can come in and kind of work on some detail in her hair. Still doing the 1 second rule. See how there's some hard edges right there in her hair? We can soften that up with this so nicely. See, I'm at 25 psi. I can just lower that and I don't have to ever worry about what psi I'm at. You never have to worry about it. So if you have a Mac valve, you put it at 25 psi, you never have to worry about it again. It's not even a question. Now, I'm not talking about guys doing t-shirts and whatnot. I'm just talking about people doing my kind of work, you know. Uh, Easel airbrush painting, so to speak. See how beautiful you'll be able to get the texture of her hair, and then coming back in with the paintbrush and working back and forth. I mean, it really is wonderful that you can combine the two, right? And that's what I think is really wonderful when you combine different techniques and different mediums together to create just this kind of symphony of technique, and it all comes together so beautifully. Okay, so that really worked out nicely. And her hair, remember we wanted to glaze her hair. We will, but right now there's a hard edge. So let's kind of make this part of her hair kind of become part of the whole of her hair, right? See that? And here you have this kind of disparate uh, value here, so we want to get rid of that. And then we can kind of make this more look like leather. And then we could create this really nice fold here. See how it all comes together when you stick with it, when you are a bulldog, you know, being tenacious, sticking with it and coming back with the brush techniques here. So always thinking like a chess player, you know, 6 or 7 moves ahead. I'm going to put this dark here. It might be a little bit too much, but I can always come back in and fix it. But I want to establish it because I want to take it to that next level. That's important to me. And I know it's important to you as well. So what we can do is we can use our freehand shield here and come right here, kind of create a beautiful hard edge here. See that? And we'll do the same thing down here. There we go. And so liking it, liking it. Let's work on this edge. So one of the things that you always want to make sure is that as you're working, yes, your edges are going to be a little rough, right? But as you're working, as your painting is progressing, you want your painting to be clean. So don't leave edges rough or anything like that. Just keep it clean. Keep cleaning up your edges as you're going, and otherwise the painting will look rough. I mean, if you want it to look rough, that's fine. But if you're not wanting it to look rough, then it's not fine. So let's see right here. There's some shadow in back of her jacket right here. Right here. We'll just establish this shadow. There we go. And you see how she's just sort of developing, and that's really cool. That's what you want to do. And then we could go back to the window here. Air Todd says, Tim, do you add 4 drops of water to your detail mix? Uh, well, no, the detail mix, what I do now with the detail mix is in the very beginning when we're working on my Airbrush India inks, I probably will dilute that a little bit. Maybe 2 parts of the ink to 1 part water in the detail mixture. So this way you have even more control. So that's something I've been doing with the Airbrush India inks a little bit. So yeah, I always recommend just playing with them. But as far as my Airbrush India inks, I don't think anything gives more control to the airbrush when working black and white. I don't think anything does. As a matter of fact, I know it doesn't. You don't get control as you do with them. Okay, so I can add a little bit of a drop shadow here. And you see how the environment's starting to come. I'm, working with her. Let's kind of anchor this bag of hers to there. Make it part of the painting. So like when I'm painting, I'm not trying to, fill in shapes. I'm kind of letting the painting happen, but I am working from the general to the specific a lot of the time, like you see in here. And it allows you to be bold, like in the dress, you know, to not be afraid of making mistakes, because the mistakes is where you really get a sense of the paint you're working with and of the different textures and everything. So it's important to you know not be so precious. Don't worry about ruining your painting. Just be bold in your decision making. Like in this dress, I'm going to keep coming back and forth and working that out and until I'm happy with it. And I'm not worried about, you know, anything that I can't fix. So I have this dark color. I'm going to come down and work on her boots here. Let's see. Right here, so our boots come out here like this. So I'm looking for the big shapes. So Mr. Todd says, or is it that that was the other light mix? It's been a while since. Yes. So you might have the old set which had the light, medium, and dark, but now my new set has detail, light, medium, and dark. And basically you're living in the detail light mostly, and then a little bit in the dark, and the medium is just like for the super darks, and then the dark accents would be the dark mixture. And so when I'm painting, I'm definitely looking at the structure of her boot and also making sure that it follows the structure of her foot inside the boot. So you have to know that there's an anatomy of the boot, an anatomy of the foot that's in there. And you do that with everything, clothes, hats, all of that fun stuff. Okay. Okay, guys, it's 11:31. Thank you so much. 9 of you are still here. Thank you so much for hanging out. So sorry for the issue with the critter and making the stencils. I thought I was doing something really nice for you guys, but it didn't turn out. But maybe another time. But I just want to say thank you so much for everyone hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate yous. I want to give a special thanks to Gary and Dave and Mike Rushing for the super chats. I really appreciate you. Thank you everyone for hanging out. It was a fun Wednesday where we're just taking our time with this painting. I'm taking my time. I really want this to be a beautiful piece that I may actually reproduce on a much larger scale in oil painting. So I really want this to be a home run. So I'm taking my time. And hey, Bobby, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything. Thank you, Astral. Thank you, Brad. So cool. And Air Todd and everyone else who's still here. Ruth, thank you so much for hanging out. And so, guys and ladies, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of the week. And next time I'll see you, it will be June. Oh my goodness, time waits for nobody. But I'm glad I get to spend time with everybody here. Bye, guys.